Hi guys, welcome back to our channel. I am Trish and today I'm going to be making for you some gumbo, or a way of doing gumbo, some sweet potato cornbread and some greens. I haven't decided what kind of greens I'm going to use yet, but I'm going to be using spinach, we don't have spinach, callaloo, kale or collard greens. I think it's gonna be collard greens though, so that's what we're making here today. All right, I'm gonna turn the camera around so I can show you some of the things I'm gonna be using. I'm gonna be using my slow cooker to make the gumbo because it's early in the day, and so it's just a way of getting dinner started before, you know, while we run some errands and so on. So I'm gonna flip this around and show you some of the things that we'll need. All right, so here is my slow cooker, and I'm gonna be cooking her in this for a maximum of 4 hours. All right, and that should be time enough. Now here are some of the things that we're gonna need. Sweet peas, gonna be using some chickpeas, some black beans, and these beans have been soaked overnight in a little bit of vinegar. Gonna be using some tomatoes. Oh, and perfect timing, I store my tomatoes on the freezer that I get from the garden every year. I really don't have time to do it the proper way, but I do freeze them whole just like this. So when you're gonna, if you do decide to freeze your tomatoes, or what I should say, don't be afraid to freeze your tomatoes. Just take them out about 5 minutes before. Did you find it, Joe? About 5 minutes before, and then they chop up really nice, right? So we're going to be blending some tomatoes and some and some, all right, and some basil and some rosemary and garlic. All right, kind of like a pesto sort of flavor. And some seasoning over here, some fennel seeds, some 5 spice. If you don't have 5 spice, you can just use cinnamon. Right, I'm gonna use some grammasala. This is like my favorite thing for beans and stuff, and a little bit of allspice, salt of course, and some garlic powder. I'm gonna be putting in some fresh thyme and scallion as well, but we're gonna be putting that in at the very end. Okay, so I'll show you how I blend my tomatoes and so on. That's the first thing we're gonna do. Okay, so I usually don't measure, but I'm serving a family of 5, and this is supposed to last for 2 days. So I'm using, like, let's see, 1, 2, 3 cups of soaked overnight chickpeas, and I'm gonna use 2 cups of black beans that have been soaked overnight as well, right? And then I'm gonna add my, actually I said I was gonna show you how I blend my sauce first, but actually I'm gonna put my seasoning in first. All right, I'm just gonna eyeball 5 spice, maybe a half a teaspoon of 5 spice, grammasala, nice heaping of teaspoon. This is very Indian, what do you call it, flavored spices. They're Indian spices, I should say. You have cardamom, cinnamon, organic cloves, cumin, black pepper, and coriander in this grammasala. All right, no, literally just a pinch of allspice. Allspice is pretty much just pimento, right? It's grown in Jamaica, and this one I find is very flavorful. Fennel, ground fennel seeds, and your powdered fennel seeds will have more flavor if you buy the seeds yourself and grind them. So we're putting in about a teaspoon of fennel seeds. Now, cumin goes well with beans, and I think everybody knows that, but I already have cumin in my grammasala, right? So I'm not going to be adding any cumin here. I like to add salt last for some reason when I'm cooking. Adding a little bit of garlic powder here, maybe 2 teaspoons, even though I'm going to be adding fresh garlic. All right, so now I'm gonna make my sauce. Okay, so my tomatoes have been sitting on the counter for maybe 5 minutes, if that much. They're still frozen, but for some reason you can still cut into them quite easily. So I'm just gonna take the leaves off my basil stalk here. And this is probably half a cup of fresh basil leaves. You can obviously use dry basil, of course, or you can use a pasta sauce that has basil and garlic. That's pretty much what we're making here, pasta sauce. Or you can just use straight tomato sauce if that's your thing. All right, I'm gonna put some rosemary in, because rosemary just makes everything taste so savory. Right, and I'm putting in about 3 stems of that. 4 garlic cloves. I'm gonna show you how easily this tomato chop up. Look at that, see? And it's only been from the freezer. It's been sitting here for 5 minutes, so don't be afraid to freeze your tomatoes. And that's it. And my little helper in the back there, she's chopping up some tricolor bell peppers. And onto this I'm gonna put some vegetable stock. Trying to maximize the flavor in this thing here. I apologize if the banging in the back is too much. Alright, so I'm gonna blend this and then I'll come right back. Alright, so here is my sauce all chopped up. I'm not so interested in getting everything nice and smooth. I do like the little chunks. And then if you want to make life easier or make things interesting for the little helpers in the kitchen, you can get this little gadget here. It chops everything nicely. And so I have my peppers here that I'm going to add at the very end. Alright, so those are the things that we'll need for our gumbo. So the next thing I'm going to do is pour my sauce over, just like that. Right, and I'm going to give it a good stir. It smells so good. Cover her and turn her on, put her on the high setting. And I'm going to let her cook for about 4 hours. You have up to 10 hours on here, but 4 hours should be fine. And by that time, we should be finished with everything that we have to get done, and dinner would have been halfway done. Okay guys, so we're going to get started on our cornbread now. Sweet potato cornbread. I'm going to need a sweet potato about this size. I'd say this is maybe a medium-sized sweet potato. So I'm going to solicit some help and have it chopped in this little gadget here. Okay. Alright guys, so my oven has been preheated at 450, sorry. And the next thing I'm gonna do is make my milk into buttermilk. And here I have a cup of whole fat milk, and I'm adding to that a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar. And I'm going to set that aside and allow that to turn into buttermilk. Next thing I'm going to do, recipe calls for a cup and a half of cornmeal, and I'm using Bob Red Mills. So a cup and a half. I'm going to wing it and say this is a half a cup. Okay. Alright. Next thing I want to do is add my sweet potatoes. Now, you can either cook your sweet potatoes and mash them and put them in there, but I think that's kind of like re-cooking your sweet potatoes. So I just chop my sweet potatoes and I add them in like that. But I'm just gonna go ahead and you're gonna coat the sweet potatoes with the cornmeal so they don't sink to the bottom of your pan, right? So that's what I'm doing here, giving them a good coating of the cornmeal. If not, they'll all sink to the bottom of your container. Alright. The next thing I'm going to do is add a teaspoon of baking powder, a teaspoon of salt, alright, I'm just going to give that a good stir again. And then I'm going to add my liquids. I have 2 large eggs here that have been whisked. You can use your flax egg or any egg replacement. Works just fine. I'm also going to add my milk. It hasn't fully curdled yet, but that's okay. And this recipe is very forgiving. If at this point, because I haven't mashed my potatoes, you see it needs a little bit more liquid. If I had mashed the potatoes, I would not, it needs a little bit more cornmeal. I would not need any more cornmeal, but I'm gonna put just a little bit more, about that much, and that's gonna be fine. Cornmeal is very absorbent, so even though it looks runny, it's gonna be just okay. Here I have greased my cast iron skillet with some coconut oil. I'm just gonna go ahead and pour everything in there. Just like that. And if you haven't noticed, I use a spatula for everything I'm doing because I need to get everything out. And that's it. Now, I like to sprinkle a little bit of cinnamon on top, but because I've been out of cinnamon for a while, I'm just gonna sprinkle a little bit of 5 spice on there. Gives it a little color, and you know, yeah, and that's it. Now I'm just gonna stick this in the oven on 450 for 30 minutes. Or until it is fully baked, where you can insert a fork or a toothpick and it comes out clean. Okay guys, so here I have my Instant Pot, and I'm gonna be adding my collards that have been cleaned and chopped, and this is about 6 cups of collards, right? I'm not going to be adding any salt to it. I do that at the very end. All I'm adding here is my collards and about 4 cloves of chopped garlic. Got this little gadget on Amazon that is just a lifesaver. I use it to chop ginger and garlic. Okay. And I'm going to put maybe a 1/4 cup of vegetable stock on here. And I'm going to cook this for literally 5 minutes. That's all it takes. Okay guys, so collard greens are done. So I just went ahead and sprinkled a little bit of olive oil, a little bit of salt. Now I'm tossing it. And I have about an hour left on my bean gumbo, so I'm just gonna wait until the last 20 minutes before I add my veggies. Okay, so here's the cornbread out the oven, and as you can see, you can still see the pieces of sweet potatoes in there, and I like it flat like this because it's a little harder. It's almost like croutons. You can crumble it over your on your gumbo, you know what I mean? But if you want it to be a little bit higher, you know, like the typical cornbread, I don't like it that way because then when you put it in the combo, it just totally dissolves. You know, but this way it has a little bit of crust to it. Yeah, it's nice and crusty, still soft, but nice and crusty. So that's all done. We're just waiting on our gumbo, and she's over here. It has about an hour to go now. Like I say, about the last 20 minutes I'll add the other veggies. Okay guys, so our gumbo has about 20 minutes left. Our bean gumbo, and it smells so good. So let me bring it a little closer so you can see. Alright, so at this point I'm going to add some cashew cream. You can add whatever cream you want. And this is just 1 cup of cashew blended with 1 cup of water. Alright, I'm not going to add all of it. It's going to give it a nice flavor, making it nice and rich. It's also going to thicken it up a little bit. And I added about, I'd say, a 1/4 cup of that. And then I'm going to add my tricolor bell peppers. Because these can be eaten raw, they don't have to be cooked, right? And I have forgotten to tell you guys, but I did slip it in there before we went through the door this morning. Some bay leaf. I put 2 bay leaves in there. Then I'm going to put a packet of frozen sweet peas. And if you want your gumbo with more juice, then you'll obviously add some more of your vegetable broth. But this is just fine for me. I mean, I should add a little bit more cashew cream. Now this is good. I'm just going to leave this for about 15 minutes or maybe 10 minutes even. Just to let, because the peas are frozen, just to let it thaw. Alright, 50 more minutes and I'll be back. Okay guys, so this is a self-serving situation. So I'm going to make a bowl so you can see. Hope you can see. Okay, so there's a method to this little madness that I do. I layer, put my collards at the bottom like this, right? Collards at the bottom like that, and then I put my gumbo. If you could see it, it would be nice, right? There you go. Alright, and then I put my gumbo on top like that. Get some of these veggies in there. Some of this delicious soup here. I would use coconut milk, but I prefer the taste of the cashew cream with this. Alright. And the next thing I'm going to serve up be cornbread. I have a piece here sliced already. I'm just going to put it right here in the corner. And so I crumble it all over. Right? And I also like some avocado on my gumbo here, so I'm just adding it on diced like so. And parsley. I actually prefer cilantro, but that's what I had. Okay, and so that's it. And so guys, the reason why I have my collard greens at the bottom is so that it will get saturated with all that flavor, all that deliciousness. So until the next video guys, I hope this was inspiring. And I hope you'll try this dish. It is so delicious. Even when it's hot outside as it is, it's very delicious. Alrighty then, God bless. Please remember to like, share, subscribe if you haven't done so already. And yeah, I'll catch you in the next video. Bye.